So, fresh from AFP Icon in Las Vegas and literally about to board a plane is our next speaker, Cherian Koshy, with over 25 plus years of direct experience in annual funds, major gifts, planned giving, and capital campaigns. He is one of the most sought after trainers and speakers in the nonprofit sector, and soon you'll see why. As the head of fundraising for various nonprofits, he's personally raised more than $100 million, including several 7 and 8 figure gifts. He lives in Iowa, here in the States, with his beautiful wife, darling children, and a precious little dog. So, Cherian, are you in the house and getting ready? Today, Cherian is talking and taking us all to the zoo. Yeah. That's right. How do you feel about the zoo? We're like, yes. So during the pandemic, there were many cultural institutions that weren't proactive. And quite frankly, they didn't articulate their needs clearly. Some tried to find hyper innovative ways to engage donors. But friends, there's one particular zoo that did things a little bit differently, and they've got some great results.
Hi, my name is Cherian Koshy. Can't thank you enough for being here. I want to tell you about one of the inspirational and grounding experiences that I was able to learn about through the pandemic. So I was an arts and culture fundraiser during the pandemic, and a lot of arts and culture organizations, particularly here in the United States, were hard hit when venues were closed, and organizations that depended upon earned income did not have that surplus to carry with them into the end of the year. And so a lot of organizations just like mine were thinking about, how do we innovate? How do we connect with donors? And one of the challenges was that in order to do those new innovative programs, they had to raise money in order to do that. And so it became really challenging. And so the story I want to share with you is of the Fort Wayne Children's Zoo. Now, the Fort Wayne Children's Zoo in non-pandemic times is an amazing organization that is one of the top, leading zoos, one of the top leading zoos in America, and has an incredible facility, incredible people, incredible zoological benefit for their surrounding communities. But then the pandemic happened; they were closed. They couldn't rely on ticket income and membership income in the same way. And so, what did they do? How did they think about navigating this space? So one of the things that that Amy Lazoff, the Chief Development Officer at the Fort Wayne Zoo, did in partnership, as you'll see, with the Better Fundraising Company, was they went back to basics. They went back to good donor stewardship and telling really good stories that were more vulnerable and authentic than they had ever done before. So this is an example of a direct mail piece that they did, and you'll see at the bottom of page 1, they start telling a story about the differences that children have and their experiences with the zoo. You'll see there it says, but for some children, the zoo experience is much different. Children like Cody, who is blind, explores the zoo through his other senses, like touching. When he and his family visited the zoo earlier this year, the first exhibition they went to was the Stingray Bay. For the first time in his young life, he was able to touch a stingray while it was gliding in the water, carefully touching its smooth body. Imagine a child like Cody experiencing life without animals, without touching them and learning more about the various animals from our zookeepers. It's heartbreaking to think about it. What I love about what Amy and the Better Fundraising Company did in this piece is they really spoke to the experience of the zoo, not just being a recreational activity, but something that was so meaningful for certain families and certain kids. This experience that that Cody has, and a number of other organizations did things that were, a little bit different, trying to get people to see the animals and whatnot. We got to see the animals in this letter through the eyes of a blind kid named Cody. And because of these types of experiences, these types of appeals, donors felt really compelled to make gifts. And so what you'll see here is they had a matching gift. They had a donor who was generous enough to provide a match. And so So the amounts that they gave were doubled. They did this around Giving Tuesday and on through the end of the year. And you'll see the creative is very simple. It's very straightforward. And then, prior to the end of the year, they did this end of December campaign as well. And what I totally love about what they did is that rather than try and do something newfangled and difficult to implement, they went back to basics. They didn't overstretch their staff. They didn't try to reinvent the wheel. They went back to what they knew, this core good fundraising strategy, and the results speak for themselves. They had 723 new donors in less than 12 months. There was a 608% increase in gifts received during Giving Tuesday and a 422% increase over the previous year in year-end giving. 422% increase in year-over-year end-of-year giving. Those are amazing results. And so I guess what I wish I had thought about as an arts and culture fundraiser is just rather than focusing on the newfangled technology or tool or tactic that might potentially work, Amy and the Better Fundraising Company went back to basics to do good fundraising really, really well. I wish I thought of that.
Wow. Speaking of a fantastic idea to spotlight, that was absolutely incredible. And for a lot of reasons. Look, he had to get the word double. I'm like, double impact, double. I'm like, yes, that really resonated with me. Kimberly, what about you? What did you take away?
Well, when I heard the word zoo, I was thinking we're going to talk about cute pandas, or we're going to talk about new animal babies, which is always really successful and traditional. But the zoo talked about how they were making the experience accessible and inclusive for everybody. And that made my heart sing. It really did.
Wow. So should we hear from
let's
Cherian to just get a little bit more about his thoughts about why the zoo and what pulled him in to the double impact? Cherian, so great to see you. Welcome.
It's been so long since I've seen you, Tysley.
I know, a whopping 8 hours. Well, we're glad that you are with us and with many of our friends from around the globe. We've got lots of questions. So folks, don't forget about that chat box. I know you're so enthralled with all of the visuals and all of the exchange, but we want to hear from you. Kimberly, I think we've got some questions that have come in.
Well, I want to first, I'm looking at the chat. And while I do that, I know there are a lot of direct mail geeks who love to talk about direct mail, but is there a way that they used this approach in other channels?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the pieces that they did was for Giving Tuesday. One was for the end of the year. And the part that I didn't include because there was so much good about this content is that it tied in with what they were putting out for emails and social media. So as you mentioned, Kimberly, a lot of times zoos are putting out stuff about animals and whatnot.
I really just wanted to just understand.
Oh, I think we lost Tysley. But the pieces connected all together with their email. The look and the feel was the same, as well as on social media. So if a donor, potential donor or existing donor saw a piece on email, they would know to get the mail. But the other piece that's really smart about what they did, what Amy did in this strategy, was everybody went to email. Everybody went to social media. So when Amy's piece came in the mail during the pandemic, it stood out because not a lot of organizations were doing that.
Right. The chat is loving the back to basics strategy here. And there's a question from Nam. I'll just read it directly. How did they do a Giving Tuesday print campaign? Did they drop the mail piece on Giving Tuesday, or did they do a week?
They did it. Yeah, that's a great question. So they did. You should reach out to Amy and hear out all about the strategy that they did. But they did mail it out the week before Giving Tuesday to prime people for Giving Tuesday gifts. As we all know, Giving Tuesday's a day, but everybody does giving up to Giving Tuesday and even after Giving Tuesday. And so this was a really wise strategy of just reminding people of when they could give.
And it's about more than giving too, right? Giving Tuesday often feels like just a money grab. Ticely, if it's okay, I'll just go on to Sarah here. I love that the attendees are asking questions that are a little bit provocative. I don't know, but they're like, where did the 700 donors come from? Was this purchased, rented, lapsed? Who are these people?
Yeah, absolutely. In such a short time, I couldn't cover all of the bits of the strategy. But for your question, Sarah, in particular, they did a lot of segmentation. So they had stuff for existing donors, and they did a special campaign for them. They had stuff for lapsed donors, all fitting within the general theme. But the 700 new donors came from the zoo's membership that hadn't been donors. So these were folks that had come, they had visited, they had their contact information, but they had not actually become donors. So they became new donors to the organization, which was huge.
Well, that speaks to the value of building community, right? So they join community. Yeah, Ticely, do you have something to add there?
Well, the piece that I will add is that while it seems as if there was a focus on solicitation, I think we've also seen, even with you spotlighting, that there's also an opportunity to increase the brand. And I would love to hear your thoughts, Cherian. Like we always say that we measure what matters. What should we be measuring as it pertains to this exceptional idea?
I think we could talk for hours on that, but I think the short version is that Amy's immediate reaction as I spoke to her was, this has been a great opportunity to build a culture of philanthropy at the zoo that she now needs to continue as she moves forward into next year and years after that, to make sure these donors are stewarded well, that they understand the impact that they've made in their own community and for children just like Cody that they helped. So stewardship and retention has been the biggest metric that Amy has been focused on.
Well, that is something that's relevant for all of us. Retention,
Absolutely.
Stewardship, sustainability. We aren't transactional. We are all about building and sustaining relationships. So, Cherian, thank you for punctuating that.
And we have one more question from Kayla.
Yeah.
The phone isn't leaving yet, Cherian. If you've got a couple of minutes to hang out. And I think we do have time to just this one more question. And Fook, I hope I say your name right. I see there's one up there. He says, amazing. Which channels they promoted? And I think you've already answered that a little bit. So yeah, let's hear from Kayla. This is a strange question, but has Giving Tuesday become the giving day? So many geographic areas seem to have their own giving day, something similar, or am I mistaken?
So that's a great question. I think there is a Giving Tuesday day that happens typically in November, but lots of organizations, even community foundations, will do their own giving day. Colleges and universities will do their giving day. So I think the point that I'm making is that the strategy is widely applicable to a lot of other organizations who might use this same at a high level, this back to basics strategy to engage their donors on a giving day.
Thanks, Cherian. Joe, one more question, Ticely. What is I love that the folks are actually asking questions, and it's a little bit of a crunch to get them all in, but let's keep them coming, folks.
Sure.
Thank you for your engagement. Jody says, what is the time frame for doubling gift impact around Giving Tuesday? Is it just for donations on the day, or is there a period that donations have been counted towards doubling the impact?
So yeah, you all are great fundraisers. You know how this works. We put this out there, and there is a deadline that often gets extended. And since Giving Tuesday is close to the end of the year, I don't know exactly if there was a cutoff period for Amy and her campaign at the zoo. But in general, I know that the one that was through the end of the year was set to expire on December 31st to encourage people to make that gift. But you'll need to make that choice for your own organization of what counts and what doesn't. But my understanding was that all of the match expired December 31st, even the Giving Tuesday one.
Awesome. Well, we have not only talked about double impact, but double fun and enjoyment. This was great. Exponential creativity. So thank you for journeying with us to the zoo. Cherian, thank you for bringing this exceptional idea. I know many of us, we wish that we would have thought of this. So thank you so much for highlighting. And now
Thanks,
that we've
Cherian.
extended
Thank you
gratitude,